gang? Hey man, I got a banger video for you. So I'm gonna address what I addressed a little bit in the last video, but I'm actually gonna address it a little bit more in this video. Make sure you watch this video to the very end because I got a ton of gold nuggets. If you haven't done so already, like the video, subscribe to the channel. If you haven't also done so already, jump into the CLG community. It is only $48 a month, less than $500 a year with a 20% discount. You also get a free one-on-one call with me. So basically you jump in, you send me a DM, you get a free one-on-one. And if you jump in before August 25th, you get access to the hard 30 for free. So without further ado, let's jump right into this video. Okay, so for all my haters from back in the day that was telling me that like, hey bro, you gotta stop making these car videos, bro. Yeah, everything you saying is true, but you need to change your environment and stuff like that. Well, this gonna be my video that's not in the car because I'm heading to the airport. I already dropped my rental car off, things like that. So I'm gonna make this video. I'm gonna address some things. It's gonna be quick, it's gonna be to the point. I'm actually gonna read a comment that one of the guys sent me. I believe this guy used to be a hater or whatever the case is, and this is what happens when people watch my content. Is sometimes when they look at my content, sometimes even for guys, right, it can rub them the wrong way or whatever the case is, because a lot of guys aren't really used to hearing the truth. They aren't used to, like, guys and girls, but not a lot of girls watch my content. It's like 99% men. But a lot of people, they're not really used to hearing the truth, and it takes a little while to sit in. And at first they come in with the comments of hate, and I believe this guy made a hate comment or something like that. I think I made a video about this guy, but he just wrote, he said, I knew this day would come, good job standing your ground though, right? And it's easier said than done, especially when the guy is like behind the comments and things like that, and he's just like, yeah man, I knew that day would come and blah blah blah, yada yada yada, but good luck standing your ground and blah blah blah. And it's not about like standing ground or nothing like that, but at the end of the day, it's about fighting for what you believe in and then understanding the truth and understanding the bigger picture, right? There's a reason why content like this is thriving and it's starting to change, because at the end of the day, a lot of men are waking up. And what I mean by a lot of men are waking up is a lot of men are just tired of the games. A lot of men are tired of manipulation. A lot of men go after the girls that they want. And because they have a certain level of care or whatever the case is with the women that they truly want, these women treat them like shit. And it just is what it is. Very few people are in the field. Some people get lucky. Some people think that they're lucky. But at the end of the day, the world that we live in is just crazy. You know what I mean? Like, anybody that has dealt with women or is trying to deal with women or whatever the case is, any straight male, that's what I'm basically, that's who I'm talking to, right? There will be women that's gonna come on here, and that used to come on here back in the day, leave comments and stuff like that, but then I used to always address those comments, and a lot of women stopped watching my content. It's like I said, it's 99% males, because even the women was just like, damn, he's not lying, right? It might come off as harsh, it might come off is mean sometimes, it might come, and every single time I make my videos, I'd be like, bro, I'm not trying to be mean, bro, I'm just calling it what it is. Yes, I naturally cuss. I've been that way since I was a kid, you know what I mean? I always cuss like a sailor, but at the end of the day, it's just the truth, and a lot of people cannot handle the truth, and sometimes too much of the truth can rub people the wrong way. So you guys already know what I'm going through. Like, you get what I'm trying to say? If you watch the last video to the end, and I always tell you guys, watch the video to the end because I always have a ton of gold nuggets, you guys already know what I'm going through. So basically what that comment was trying to say was, at the end of the day, the situation that's happening is, I've had, I would consider a family, but it's not my family particularly, but it's my girl's family. So I had a family member address me about my content, and this is what I will say. I did think it was bold for her to finally address me, right? We talked. Obviously she wasn't happy with the conversation or whatever the case is, but what he was saying is I stood my ground. The reason that I can stand my ground, and the reason that I did stand my ground, is because everything that I'm telling you guys is actually true. It's not like I'm lying, it's not like I'm making things up, it's not like I'm over here saying like, oh, I'm butthurt against women. No, I'm not butthurt with women, I'm not butthurt against women. I'm literally just saying the facts. And this is the crazy part. For the guys that's been following my content from the beginning, I told you guys straight up, I said, if anything changes, which I hope it does, I said I will be the first one to let you know when it does. I have a community of guys who are in the field that's talking to women, things like that. Funny enough, things aren't changing. Funny enough, women are doubling down. Funny enough, women are continuing to manipulate men at very high percentages. And this is the crazy part. I would never expect a woman to understand none of my content, but they can watch it. And that's what I told her sister. I was like, you can watch it all you want to, right? Yes, some stuff is going to rub you the wrong way, but at the end of the day, I'm tired of lying. Like, that's just what it is. You feel me? Like, okay, yeah, my mom raised me to be like, oh, always, in so many words, my mom raised me, he's like, always lie to a girl. Even when you telling the truth, lie to a girl, right? That's how my mom raised. She was just like, you know what I mean, never tell him the truth, you know what I mean? I know who your dad was. I know who your stepdad was. I know who my dad was, which is my mom's dad. I know how, every girl knows how guys operate. They just don't want to hear the truth for whatever reason, right? But if you say that girls don't like to hear the truth and girls hate the truth, and you say stuff like that, then you become the demon for calling out what is actually true. You get my you get what I'm trying to say? So I got to a point where I just said, I'm tired of lying, and I'm going to take the consequences for how they come. Even in the Bible, they say what? Lying is a sin. All right, I'm tired of lying. Take the consequences how they come. That's what's happening, right? I'm tired of lying. I'm jumping on the internet. I'm keeping it real. I'm holding stuff down. Whatever case is, you want to say stand ground, whatever case is. If I got to be the one that gets crucified because of it, hey, so be it. You know what I mean? You guys can watch the journey, but at the end of the day, I am who I am. You feel me? And I'm not I'm not somebody that is faking, or I'm not somebody who isn't strong enough to handle the criticism. I knew this day would come. Everybody knew this day would come. It is what it is. I'm not hiding. You get what I'm trying to say? So, in so many words, yes, this particular guy who used to be a hater seems like he's still watching my content. This particular guy is coming out and be like, man, I knew this day would come, man. Stand your ground. Do you know how many times this has happened in my life? Do you know how many times where I was in a class? This happened in St. Olaf too. I was at a school, a college that I went to, and I was at a class, and the female professor was spewing off a lot of like slight shots at men. And I remember being in the class, and I was just like, hold up. Like, this class is supposed to be like sociology, and she was putting a bunch of biases about men and this and this and this and this, and I was the one that stood up, right? I stood up in the class. I'm the one who talked up. I'm the one that started telling the truth, and everything I was saying was true. And I wasn't disrespectful in the class or whatever, but she claimed that I was disrespectful, this particular professor. She brought people from her other classes to debate against me, which were very weak men. And they were trying to tell me how my way of thinking was wrong and all this stuff like that. And I just was basically saying, well, where's the lie? And I was a little bit upset because I was at a college where it was 2% black at the college. We talked about African American rights for like less than a quarter of a period of a class. But then when it came to female rights, she was talking about it for like 6 classes straight about how women don't got enough rights. So I was just like, all right, so what rights don't they have? You get where I'm coming from? What rights don't they have? Like I'm just asking questions. You know what I mean? Where are the missing rights? What's happening? How are they being oppressed? Like, give me some facts so we can actually go. Oh, but because I asked those certain type of questions, I was the big bad wolf of this class. This happened, right? So then she was bringing in a bunch of guys, very soft men, that I would like to add, but a bunch of guys into this classroom to debate against me, and every one of them was getting cooked. And then what ended up happening was, after the class, the girls, at least the attractive ones, would come to me after the class and be like, oh yeah, CJ, you had a lot of points. Let's go to lunch. Like, let's talk more about this. But I was like, hold up, in class though, you was against me, right? Even I had guys in the class that wouldn't say nothing in the class, allow me to get bombarded by everybody's questions. Everybody was trying to come at me and all this crazy stuff. And then they'll wait till after the class to be like, damn, bro, you had some good points, bro. Like, dang, bro, like you was really spitting. I'm like, bro, where you was at to have my back in the class? So this is what I'm trying to tell you guys. This is the world that we live in. This is how I know that we live in this world, and I already can predict what was going to happen. I've been telling you guys this on my channel. It's going to happen. You feel me? Because the truth is just one of those things that men get crucified for speaking. There is a reason why this style of content is growing up. There is a reason. Like, systems will always correct themselves in a given period of time, right? If a system is out of whack, it will correct itself, especially when we live in a social media age, especially when we live in an information age. The system will correct itself over time. The difference between me and anybody else is I don't lie and pander to women like a Derrick Jackson, for to say. Derrick Jackson is the guy who will lie, tell a woman everything she wants to hear while still doing her wrong. He will tell her about all the characteristics of a narcissistic guy, which girls tend to find attractive. Bro, girls tend to find guys who are a little bit selfish attractive, right? Girls tend to find guys who can move things forward attractive. Girls tend to find guys that move to the beat of their own drum attractive. I mean, bro, I've been saying this since the beginning of my channel. Where is the lie? Please tell me where the lie is, right? So we're gonna go deeper into the conversation. So basically, the conversation that was had was my girl sister, which I give her a lot of respect for even having this conversation. But she had the conversation. She came at me in several ways. So basically, she was saying that my content is disrespectful towards women. First of all, my content isn't made for women. 99% of my audience is male. My content isn't necessarily disrespectful. It is just the truth. And she tried to make it seem like I was saying the things that I was saying about every single woman. I never said that I was saying the things. I've never said that the stuff that I was saying was about every woman. But at the end of the day, there's a smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller percentage of good women due to media's brainwash on them, right? It just is what it is. This percentage of good women is extremely small. The percentage of good men is extremely high from the men that I'm running across, right? When you see the both sexes from today's society in the West, right? I'm not talking about where the women are super submissive in different countries and, you know, whatever the case is, because I don't go to different countries and talk to women and nothing like that. But I'm talking about in the West, there are less and less and less good women. And not just from me, but every guy that I've ran across. I'm talking about real field analysis. Every guy that I ran across is in agreement with that, right? Very, 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 very few good women. So I never said all, but I've always said the majority of women act this way, and that is the case. That has been the case so far, and it continues to be the case. And until that changes, I'm gonna still be speaking facts. Now, if I wake up one morning and girls actually start giving the men that overly care for them, love them, do everything for them, they start giving those guys the best versions of themselves, they start giving those guys the most. Basically, they start dating the guys that actually love them, and don't put them on a pedestal, and they start whatever. If the world changes, I'll be the first one to tell you guys, hey, I'm seeing a change in the market. As of right now, there is no change in the market. Actually, it's getting worse in the opposite direction, to be honest. So the first thing she said was my content is disrespectful towards women. I basically told her the content isn't disrespectful towards women. The content is the truth, right? But if you want to call the truth disrespectful, hey, that's your opinion. But at the end of the day, the content that I'm speaking is true. I mean, there's no way around it. You know what I mean? Like, it is what it is. So that was the main thing. My content is disrespectful towards women. And then she was going into my relationship specifically with her sister. I told her, me and your sister's relationship is me and your sister's relationship. Because you're her sister and you have a bias, I'm not gonna get into that with you. We can talk about the content, but in terms of how me and your sister decide to do our relationship and what she agrees to, because at the end of the day, your sister can leave whenever she wants to leave, which is true. I'm not the type of guy that's gonna lock you in the house. At the end of the day, I'm not that type of guy. Contrary, even matter of fact, everybody that's been watching my channel I've told you guys since the beginning of this, I say, bro, the last thing you want to do is control a girl. She said that my content is very controlling and manipulative, and it makes men control and manipulate and do this stuff. No, she didn't say manipulate. She said your content makes men control women and tell them what to do. I said, no, it doesn't. You mixing my content up with somebody else's content. I've never been the guy since the beginning of my channel. Everybody knows this. I've never been the guy to be like, hey man, you got to tell your girl what to wear. You got to tell her how to leave the house, how to act, No, bro, never been that guy. I said, no, I said, this is what you guys try to do. You try to get a girl that's not built to be a main chick or a wife or whatever the case is, and you try to turn her into one. What I say is allow her to be herself, allow her to show you her true colors, and you put her in the right category. Been saying that since the beginning of the channel. But she said I was telling guys how to control women. That's never the case. Never the case. If anything, and all my CLG guys can admit to this, if anything, I tell guys to say and do less with women. How is that controlling? I just say, observe the woman that you're dealing with, and you figure out what category that she fits in. Is she a rotation chick, or is she a long time girl that you want to have a family with, that you can love to the day that she dies? Is she one of the rare ones that that has a lot of green flags? You might not have the same sexual experiences with them. You might not have the same sex appeal with that person, or whatever the case is. I even tell guys to go down a couple notches for the good girl. Where is the lie? Where is the controlling aspect? Where is the telling women what to do and all this stuff? So that was a lie. Like it just flat out was, because I don't tell people to control women. I never have, right? I've always said in the beginning, the whole entire channel, I've always said, find what category she fits in, put her in that category. Most girls are fit to be rotation chicks, and a lot of guys put them in the main chick category or wife category. That's why so many guys are going through so many hardships with the women that they're dealing with, because they chose the wrong woman to do anything long term with. It is what it is. This is just how the world works. It's whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I am the guy who observes, and I just tell the truth. I report the news. Something like a journalist, right? A journalist is the guy who observes and be like, okay, it seems like the media is lying about a lot of things. Let me go in and do on the ground research and realize, oh, most of the stuff that the media is telling people is a lie for whatever reason, for their agenda. You know what I mean? And it's just getting out of hand. Too many women are just way way too entitled. Way too entitled. And the guys that are like, the guys that watch my content be like, bruh, this is actually truth. Good men, solid, bro. The men that are actually getting hurt the most, I'm gonna be honest with you, are the good men. Every guy that is looking, the guys that I'm running to, the guys who are looking for a wife to be monogamous to love, to put on the pedestal, those are the guys that are getting hurt the most. It's always been that way since the beginning of the time, right? It's just how it is. You know what I mean? It's just like, if a girl can't respect you, she can't love you. It is what it is. So I teach men how to get respect from a woman, and obviously the results speak for themselves, because the guys that are in the CLG community, they're getting results. Why is that? Because it obviously must be the truth, and it obviously must be working. I get so passionate about this stuff, but judge a man by his fruits, right? Judge a tree by the fruits that it bears. A good tree cannot bear bad fruit. A bad tree cannot bear good fruit. Judge me by the fruit that I bear. In the community, the guys that listen to me are getting very, very, very good results that they used to never be able to get. It's that simple. You know what I mean? And when they run across a good girl, whatever the case is, they will still be able to execute, because at the end of the day, good girls respond to the same stuff. Isn't it crazy that good girls like guys that I just mentioned? Isn't that crazy? Like my grandfather, his wife was a virgin in Jamaica, and he was an outlaw, killer, fucking murderer slash, he wasn't like hunting people just to murder them. It just was, he was just a gangster. If you crossed him, you just came up missing. It is what it is. Isn't it crazy that my grandmother was a sweet, innocent virgin that fell in love with an outlaw who was 6'3", with scar in his face because somebody split his face open, with long dreads, and plenty of women all around Jamaica? Isn't that crazy that the good girl fell in love with him and she gave it to nobody else but him? Isn't that crazy? My real father, gangster. Isn't it crazy that my mother fell in love with my real father? And my real father had no shortage of options, and he was out here wilding, gangster, whatever. Isn't it crazy that I'm not even the gangster out of the family? But I follow the characteristics that I told you in my channel since the beginning of time, and since my heart was broken at the age of 14 and 15, I never had a problem with women after that. Isn't that wild? So obviously the stuff that I'm saying is true, but the conversation that I had with her, she was saying it was disrespectful. I was trying to say, how can the truth be disrespectful? And how can it be disrespectful if women is not even my audience? If my audience isn't even women, how can it be disrespectful? That doesn't make sense to me. You get what I'm trying to say? Like, how am I disrespecting a group and I'm not even talking to that group? That doesn't make any sense for me. And this is the crazy part. There are a ton of channels out there that already bash men. It's getting so bad that there are mainstream media platforms built around bashing men. Mainstream media. I'm talking about like news and stuff. Like, you get what I'm trying to say? But then when somebody calls a woman out, it's a whole completely different story, right? When somebody calls them out for what they do and how they bash women, and this is a male's channel, right? There are plenty of other channels out there that exist that are gonna keep bashing men to the end of time. This is why we're in this predicament that we are in, because at the end of the day, women have found a way to divide men and conquer. There are a bunch of men that are going to take women's side no matter what, in hopes of being able to mate with women. That's going to be that man will always exist no matter what. You know what I mean? That man will always exist to the end of time. It is what it is. Me, I'm just a truth teller. There's no disrespect. There is no all the things that she was trying to say. That was the main thing she was trying to say. She said my content is disrespectful towards women. She tried to get into my relationship dynamic between me and her sister. I said her sister can leave whenever she wants to leave, but at the end of the day, you feel me? That's between me and her sister. You get what I'm trying to say? The relationship that me and her sister got going on is between me and her sister. It is what it is. Like, you know what I mean? It's just whatever. You know what I mean? But going back to what I was saying is, I'm gonna continue to spit the truth. I'm gonna continue to help guys. That is my purpose. That is my passion. What was the last thing? I'm trying to address it all. I think that was the main thing. She said it was disrespectful towards women, which is, it's not the truth. You feel me? And then I forgot, it was the relationship thing. I think that's what she. And then she went into a specific point. So she said that I said that women can't think for themselves or something like that, and she was like, well, I can think for myself. Like, you get what I'm trying to say? So I want to address that too. A lot of the times when I'm talking about women, I'm talking about the majority of women, right? There are outliers, and I've said this in my channel since the beginning of time. I said there are always outliers, and if you think I'm lying, for the people who've watched my channel, what did I say? I said the fastest woman in the world ran a 10.49, right? A 10.49 in a 100-meter dash. She was the fastest woman to ever be recorded to run a time that fast. A 10.49 is extremely fast, and the majority of men cannot run that time. But that is the fastest woman in the world. The majority. I never ran a 10.49. Does that make sense? But at the end of the day, there were kids that I grew up around in high school that ran a 10.2 in high school. They didn't go to my school, but we had kids that ran 10.2 in high school. So think about that. High school kids that were boys ran 10.2s in high school, while the fastest woman in the history of the world was recorded to run a 10.49 in a 100-meter dash. What I'm trying to say is, there are women who can't outperform the majority of men. I'm just saying, all in all, men outperform women because they're just naturally the superior sex. It just is what it is. And I brought it to racing because I want to let it be known that, like, yes, there are women that are going to be smarter than the majority of women. The smartest woman is going to be smarter than the majority of men, right? There are going to be outliers. I'm saying group for group, men outperform women in pretty much every category. There is no lie. But the thing is, the world that we live in today is, when you tell the truth, you get called disrespectful. When you say that the majority of women aren't built for long-term relationships, basically you're just saying the truth. You get called disrespectful. You get called all of these names, whatever the case is. She didn't get into she didn't call me misogynistic, whatever the case. I was waiting for that stuff, but I didn't get those names. But yeah, man, that's just what it is. This channel is a truth-telling channel. It just is what it is. It's not gonna change. You know what I mean? It just is what it is. Like, men like me exist. I'm tired of lying, I'm tired of hiding, I'm tired of whatever the case is. It's whatever, you know what I mean? My content isn't built for women, but if a woman wants to watch it, it's a public channel, right? I make sure, and even though I'm a cusser and all this crazy stuff like that, I always make sure, and I don't even have to watch my videos, I know what I said, right? And she said that I said that women, that I basically was trying to say all women can't think for themselves and all this stuff like that. No, that particular statement, if I said it, which I don't think I said it, if I said it, I know for a fact I probably said most women or something like that. I probably prefaced it in a way, but even that statement, there's a lot of truth in it, right? A lot of women rely on their homegirls to make a decision. Every guy who deals with women, especially modern women, will vouch for me. If you ever, I tell guys to test it. If you ever go to a club or a bar or whatever the case is, and you're by yourself and you talk to a group of women, you're gonna notice when you're talking to a woman, she's gonna lock eyes with the leader of the group, the leader of that group, and look for her opinion as to what she needs to do, and they're gonna be able to talk to each other just from their eyes alone. So she's gonna look to the leader to basically be able to make a decision if she should do anything with you or talk to you or whatever the case is. And based off of the leader's eyes, the girls will do what the leader says. And the leader will most likely tell them, if she's not feeling you or whatever the case is, the leader will tell them, or the girl will give her a signal with her eyes, and they'll say something like, oh, we need to go to the bathroom. So that's what I mean. If a girl is talking to a guy, the chances that a guy is going to look at his homeboy and be like, hey, tell me what I should do in this situation with your eyes, is slim to none. Guys aren't doing that. Like, you get what I'm trying to say? So when I'm saying that women can't think for themselves, I don't even think I said that, to be honest. I don't even think, I honestly do not recall me saying women can't think for themselves. But that was one of the things that she said. She said, you said women can't think for themselves. I was like, first of all, I don't think I said that. You know what I mean? And if I said that, I probably was giving an example and you took it like I said that. I probably was giving a real life example of how women operate, because I am a truth teller and the truth fucking hurts. But I probably was giving a real life example, and with that real life example, I was probably just breaking down an example of a situation where women have a hard time thinking for themselves. They basically rely on the media, or they rely on their friend, whatever the case is. They rely on a lot of different things other than from within. Women rely on a lot of external validation and whatever sources or whatever type of energy. And guys, if I'm lying, bro, fucking put it in the comments. If anything I'm saying is a lie, just fucking put it in the comments, bro. You know I read my goddamn comments. Come on, bro. Like, let's keep this shit 100. So but yeah, going off that comment, man, I knew this guy, I knew this day would happen. I'm reading that comment. He said, man, you stood on ground. Bro, I'm not hiding. I'm not one of those guys, bro. Everything I say, it is what it is. I'm just not one of them. You know what I mean? My genetic structure doesn't even allow me to be a weak man, right? If I go to the history of my dad and their granddads and stuff like that, it doesn't even allow us to be weak. You know what I mean? Like, we Jamaicans. What did I tell you about Jamaicans, right? The Jamaicans was sent to Jamaica because they weren't easily controlled. So the slaves that weren't easily controlled, that were natural rebels, that stood up against stuff, whatever the case is, they enslaved them and shipped them to the islands. So that's why the Jamaicans tend to be a little bit more unruly. You get what I'm trying to say? And that's in my bloodstream. Was I raised by a Jamaican? No, he went to jail when I was a kid, right? He was deported.